Hey, forget me, son! Forget me, son! I'm the king of the bare knuckle man! I can fight Mike Tyson to the death! All your big mates I can fight! I'm the fucking man! You, not me, son! Get in here then! Put the mic down! Put the mic down! Look in these eyes! Look in these eyes!
So good afternoon everybody. Got a quick 20-minute lunch break and I thought, okay, I'll do a video having seen the news this morning that the WBA, the World Bollocks Association, have ordered Alexander Usyk to fight now Daniel Dubois, who is the regular champion. So Usyk's the super champion, Dubois is the regular champion, and he looked all of a regular champion last week apparently. I still haven't seen the fight, so I caught up on last weekend or the weekend before's action in the fight where the WBA rules state that if a fighter's dropped 3 times in a round, the fight's automatically stopped, and Daniel Dubois, who was down 3 times against his opponent whose names escaped me, or maybe I never even read it in the first place. Lots of sarcasm, by the way. I can't help but be sarcastic and cynical where boxing is concerned now. However, we saw that he actually should have lost his belt last week, or the week and a half ago. He didn't, and now he's been mandated to fight the super champion. So listen, anybody out there, and I'm a dinosaur, I'm a round peg in a square hole. Anybody who buys into the belt situation now and goes around proclaiming WBA regular champions and WBO interim champions and IBO champions and all of these nonsense things that have come into the sport over the last 2-3 decades, if anybody believes those are genuine world titles, then I've got some oil in the Pennines that I want to sell you, make you very, very rich. Seriously, right? Boxing continues to get into a mess. The heavyweight fight that we all want is, of course, Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk. And it looks now, because the WBA have mandated their own regular champion. I mean, what is a regular champion? I don't know. They've now mandated their own regular champion to fight their super champion. It puts the fight in jeopardy. We know that Filip Hrgović, the IBF mandatory, who looked very uninspiring winning a split decision against the creaking 39-year-old Zhilei Zhang a few months ago. So he's been mandated to, again, for the IBF. Eddie Hearn won't shift on that because obviously he has promotional rights over Filip Hrgović. The promotional rights over Daniel Dubois might be a little bit easier to overcome because we know that obviously Tyson Fury and Dubois have the same promotional or the same managerial people who look after them. That one might be easier to navigate. Does this sound confusing to you? Right, because I'm confusing myself. I've just forgotten about all of this, and I said this to my friends, and I said this recently to my friends Willie Joyce and Max Jenkins when we were talking about the belts, and I really do sound like an old guy, and I'm only 51. I might look a little bit older. Who knows? How can you make sense of this? We want to know who the best heavyweight in the world is, right? By consensus, and I agree with the consensus, Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion of the world, right? Forget the belts. He's the kind of linear heavyweight champion, but less about the linear, more about the dominant performance he's had over, obviously, Deontay Wilder, who was seen as the danger man of the division. We saw Anthony Joshua exposed, not exposed as a fighter, Joshua's a very good fighter, but exposed at the absolute elite level. We've seen him exposed in a shootout with Ruiz and a boxing match with Usyk, so we know he's got his failings. Listen, being one of the 3 or 4 best heavyweights in the world is not a failing, by the way, so I'll correct that. It's just, we know where he is, and there's no way on earth that Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight in the world, and nobody's saying that. But we do want to know if it's Fury or Usyk. Those guys want to fight. The joke organisational belts and the situations that we're in are trying to stop that. Yeah. So Daniel Dubois, in old money, I always say in old money, Daniel Dubois would be a British champion 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He'll be fighting for domestic belts. That's what he would be doing. He won the regular belt off the guy's name escapes me. He looked like he'd been training at KFC. It was just in horrendous condition, and he rolled over like a big harpooned whale. So he was a joke. He was rolled over. Dubois had a very shaky defense a couple of weeks ago, and technically lost that fight. So his reward for beating the Michelin Man and for beating a blown up light heavyweight when he should have been ruled out because of 3 knockdown rule, his reward is it's going to scupper the massive fight that we all want to see, the unified championship of the world between Fury and Usyk. This is why I can no longer get excited about boxing. I'm not going to comment, by the way, if anybody's wondering why I'm not going to do a video about the Mr. Clean and the revelations that Mr. Clean's coming back in January. I'm tired of that now. It was become so predictable. There's nothing more predictable than corruption in sport, unfortunately, certainly in boxing. So whilst you might be wondering what my thoughts are on that one, I've made them clear. I predicted what was going to happen. It's going to happen. And if boxing no longer cares about boxing, then why should I care about boxing? So let's have 20 titles in each division. Let's have more divisions now. What have we got? 18 at the last count. What happened to Bridgerweight, by the way? Has anybody heard anything about Bridgerweight? So some div had a concept about creating a new weight between cruiserweight and heavyweight because of the big jump, and they came up with a Bridgerweight. Does anybody even know if anyone in the world campaigns at Bridgerweight right now? So let's have some more weights. Let's have a weight division between Bridgerweight and heavyweight. Let's create a super heavyweight division for those guys over 300 pounds who can't be bothered training. Let's create that. We've got a £3 difference between light flyweight and flyweight. Let's put a weight in between light flyweight and flyweight of £1.50 difference. Let's have 20 belts per weight division, and let's have 50 weight divisions separated by £1 or £2, as well as interim and regular belts. Let's have a standard belt. Let's have a provincial belt. Let's have a chocolate belt, a ruby belt. We've got a silver belt, haven't we? Let's have a bronze belt. We might even have a bronze belt. Let's have so many belts, okay? Because I remember saying this to Ben Doughty about 5-6 years ago. We were talking about the joke of the belts. And I know I've gone on from Fury to Usyk, but this is all related. I remember Ben and I having a conversation about the belts, and I made a comment and I said, we're going to get to a situation now where every professional boxer who has a full career of 10 to 15 years who doesn't win a world title, their career is going to be looked upon as a massive failure, because everybody will get a world title in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I think that's where we're heading. It's like non-competitive sports. Everybody gets a trophy, so let's give everybody a world title in boxing. Am I a little bit wired? I've had 2 coffees this morning. I've been working hard, but I just thought I do this in one take. I don't always check every single detail, but I generally get the narrative in my head that I want to talk about, and then I just go off on one and just rant for a little bit. I try not to rant. People say to me, listen, if you don't love this, if you don't love boxing, then get out, okay? Just get out. But the problem that we've got there is I do love boxing. I don't love what boxing has become. I don't love how it's managed. I don't love how it's administered. I don't love the unfairness, the non-level playing field. I believe that sport should be 2 things, competitive and entertaining. And right now, it's neither. I mean, we had fights at the weekend. I haven't seen them. There's a lot of shows I haven't seen in the last 2 to 3 weeks by choice. I just no longer care to watch them. People say, why do you keep commenting on them? Because I've put over 35 years of my life into boxing. So anybody out there who says, just stop whinging, stop moaning. I've done 6-7 seasons as an amateur boxer and over 20 years as a professional coach, and the rest of that time, what I've just mentioned, 35 years, I did a lot of amateur coaching. I've paid my dues. I'm entitled to an opinion. It's an informed opinion. If people don't like it, switch off, unsubscribe, no issue. Those of you who like it, I think you know where I'm coming from, and I believe that you are people who care about boxing, who love boxing, and you're equally frustrated. The fights we want, we're not getting, okay? We're not getting Crawford and Spence. We've had some good lightweight fights, but the ones we want the Garcia, okay? We want Tank. We want these big fights, but we're not quite getting those big fights either. We've got all this pool of light heavyweights in Britain. We've got some fantastic light heavyweights. Some of those fights get made, some of them don't. But we're just not getting what we really want, are we? We're not getting those fights. And it's disappointing. I'm entitled to an opinion, as I've said. I've paid my dues. I have paid my dues, and I've paid a price for being involved in boxing. I don't threaten, by the way. Those who know me will know that I had a two-year blackout from boxing. So from 2014, when I shut the gym, I had 2 years where I no longer spoke about boxing, didn't watch boxing, and I kind of got dragged back in to train a young amateur. I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I'd stayed away, but it's the addictive nature, and anybody will tell you who is involved in boxing, it's being in the gyms and it's the characters that you meet, and you do meet some great people in boxing. You meet some tossers and some bullshitters and idiots, but you meet some really fantastic people in boxing. I've got people I consider friends, people I will always have respect from, people I just, you know, now and again, we don't talk about boxing, but we catch up. I have really gone on one now, haven't I? I've gone straight from Fury to the belts to boxing and my experiences. Okay, back on track, Jules. Okay, you've only got 20 minutes lunch. It was so frustrating hearing the news this morning about Fury and Usyk. What we want, the saying goes, as the heavyweight division goes, so does boxing. The heavyweight division is the bellwether of boxing. The heavyweight championship of the world is often called the greatest prize in sport. As boxing fans, as people who have been involved in boxing, or as secondary boxing fans, even if it's not your first sport, we are all entitled to see the best fight the best. And we want a unified heavyweight champion, even if that is just for 6 to 12 months and the winner retires or the belts split up because they can't fulfill the mandatories. We want, just for once, a unified heavyweight championship. People, greed, are just not going to deliver that, are they? So unfortunate. I'm not saying we won't get Fury and Usyk, but whilst I'm saying the belts are a load of rubbish, belts aren't rubbish to fighters who put their lives on the risks to win them, but the integrity of the belts, the integrity of the organisations, you know, everybody knows that the boxing organisations are all corrupt, okay? The IBF was investigated a long time ago. There was all kinds of things going on with the IBF. The WBC is massively questionable. The WBA is probably viewed by most people as being the most corrupt organisation in boxing. And what can we do? What can we do about it? So all we can do is hope that we get Fury and Usyk in the spring. We can hope that people come to some agreement, but my fear is it's not going to happen, because there are only 3 fights in the heavyweight division we've all wanted over the last 6-7 years or so. You know, the big fights that we wanted, and we haven't had them. I don't need to list those. You all know what those 3 fights are. We haven't had them, but this is the one that we want. So fingers crossed we get it, but you become so disillusioned with boxing. It's so easy to just walk away from the sport. And again, final one, I respect all professional boxers. I'm not knocking the belts. I'm not knocking the battles that people do and the hard work that people put in. I'm just saying we've got ourselves into a real mess. The IBF in 83 I hated, and then when the WBO came out in 88, I just cringed. I absolutely cringed. And unfortunately, that's where we are now. We get some great fights out there, but they're very, very few and far between. I think boxing fans are the most patient and most loyal of all sports, because in any other sport you wouldn't put up with this nonsense and corruption. I'm winding down now. I'm going to log back on to my Mac. I'll upload the video. It'll only take a couple of minutes. Feel free to watch. Again, please like, subscribe and share. Just to put it out there right now, I'm not planning on doing a video about Mr. Clean. I refuse to do that. Right now it's pointless. That deal's been done, and ultimately it's the court of public opinion that matters, and you'll all vote with your feet, whether you go or whether you don't, or whether you pay to watch those shows or you don't. But most important thing, I'm just going to leave the last line to Sean O'Hagan, Josh Warrington's father and trainer. And when I spoke to Sean a couple of days after Josh was knocked out by Lara, and that was a bad knockout. And Sean was very philosophical about that. And you know, the most important thing he says is that Josh was okay, and it was his son's health. And he said to me, he says, Jules, he goes, it's just a bit of boxing. It's just a bit of boxing, mate. And it stuck with me what Sean said. And then to see Sean say that at the weekend after Josh lost a close fight, which again I've not seen, to Lopez, Sean just said it again. It's just a bit of boxing. And I think he's right. So whilst I might sound like I'm ranting on these videos and having a moan, genuinely, I'll log back onto work. I'll watch some old box sets tonight, and I won't sweat over this stuff. This is just my time to rant and to get this out there. I definitely don't sweat over this stuff. It doesn't impact my life anymore. Boxing used to impact my life massively. It doesn't anymore. I just say, I'm not fancying this show this weekend. Switch off. DAZN, nah, unsubscribe. So that's where I'm at right now. Hope you're all well. Thank you. It's the longest goodbye ever. Okay. So take care. Hope you've enjoyed the lunchtime rant. Feel free to comment, like, share. Keep the comments nice. Keep the comments clean. Keep the comments respectful. If I'm talking absolute nonsense, feel free to tell me in a nice way, and that way I won't block you and remove the comment. We'll just keep it like gentlemen or ladies. Okay? You take care and have a good day.
Porky's Corner is proud to be sponsored by Spartan Site Solutions. They are specialists in civil engineering and demolition contracts for the construction industry. Interested parties should visit their website or contact Porky's Corner for a referral at porkycorner@mail.com.
You like that one, didn't you? Right, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for liking and subscribing. It means a lot to me, because we're on this journey together, aren't we? So anybody got any ideas for the channel, fire them over to me, porkycorner@mail.com. All right. Shout out to Innovation Alloys and South Yorkshire Packaging. All right. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep on trucking.